Showtime, guys. Gabs here. What's in the glass? Digital Beat Stream Season 2. Welcome everyone. Really excited and happy to be back online, be back on this beautiful digital beer stream, which saved my mind, saved my brain. A couple of months ago, it still does. I think we still need to meet each other online, meet each other offline. Well, we don't really have much chance to go offline in these days, so let's keep doing online. And, Digital Beer Stream has been an occasion to meet up with, as many people from the beer, the drink, and the hospitality industry. Since the first episode, we did 48 for the previous season. It's an award-winning show, so we're happy to keep going for it, and give us a chance to hear what is going on within our industry. And we also promise you that it's not going to be just for the people within the industry, but we want to make all our information as accessible as I can, and that's why we carefully selected the coolest, nicest, and most honest people out there. So I don't know if you're familiar with craft beer. If you're familiar with craft beer, we're talking about good beer. We're talking about beer made with passion, with the right techniques. Most of the case, good ingredients, and we are really excited to be each of us ambassadors of this beautiful, wave. That's how we should call it. My name is Gabs. I'm trying to be the best beer communicator I can. I talk a lot, so you can always write in comments that you must shut up. I won't mind. And we started to use horizontal portrait because we didn't like too much to go for the vertical anymore. Vertical is a bit tiny, squeeze the face, makes it look weird. And so we wanted to try a different approach to this element. And the right approach is to use, different social media as well, see how it goes, and potentially entertain you in even a better way. So there are a few people I met in different parts of the world, and definitely Aidy, the guest that we're having today for the Digital Beat Stream, is one of them. I'm pretty sure, and we'll check with her, we met in 3 different places already, which is Scotland, the UK, and the US, especially for both work reasons, but definitely I would say it was definitely for pleasure reason as well, because we had good beer and we had good fun together. And she is one of the nicest people out there that I ever met, and definitely she made up an incredible experience within the craft beer community and the craft beer industry. And her most recent residency, I will call it, is with the New Zealand Beer Collective. And this is a very special month because it's New Zealand Beer Month. But before saying anything else, I would like to invite her into the stream with my great pleasure. Hello.
Hello. Thanks. It's so nice to hearing people talk about you that way, even if it's pure nonsense.
No. I speak the truth because it's coming from here, and I can't spend enough good words with you. How are you?
I'm good. It's nice to be here virtually. I don't know.
Yeah, well, again.
I'm doing pretty well, things considered. Try and stay positive, and having a beer helps. Talking to nice folk helps. So I'll take tonight as a win for sure. I know. Oh, good! I love that you've got a stubby holder as well. Yes.
This is incredible, and as you say on the social media, this is brilliant because it keeps your beer cold, and it also keeps your
warm. Yeah. I know.
I love it.
I was quite pleased with that one because, as an Antipodean, and I use that term because, I grew up in New Zealand, but then I spent a long time in Australia as well. I'm also drinking.
Yes, that's what I love. Yes.
Yeah. Although I started drinking mine a little while ago, so I'll do a little top up. But yeah, I love a stubby holder or a koozie for that reason, because up until recently we were still doing a lot of outdoor sort of walk at a beer with friends and things like that until the Scottish government have stopped the drinking outside part. But this was super handy, like when I was outside and I was like, it's so cold holding a can of beer, and like this made all the difference. So yes.
Can you fit it to a pint as well, or to a glass?
Yeah, I don't know. Maybe. I feel like I've probably got some, not the glass that I'm using because it's a fat bottom girl, but like maybe some of the other glassware I have, definitely.
Something, probably a Pilsner glass or something.
Yeah, you're right.
I must try. I'm going to bring outside with me wherever I'm going. And
I actually keep one in my coat pocket. So, yeah.
You never know. Well, let me put it this way: you are in a city and in a country where a few people would love to be, just for a simple reason. Scotland managed to deal with the situation where we are right now in a slightly better way. So you were telling me before, then you feeling pretty, happy to be where you are right now, right?
Yeah, I think I think there's no one in the UK has handled it perfectly, obviously, but I think I do think that we often joke about the fact that Boris copies Nicola's homework. So often something will get released here before it gets released there. And you know what? I mean, I don't want to get too much into that, but for the most part, I think there's a lot of the decisions that have been made are things that I would agree with in principle. And but we also have the advantage of the fact that we're a much smaller country. So I don't want to just sort of there's less of us here than there are in the city that you live in. So we've got the advantage of space. And a smaller population, so there's definitely benefits that come along with that as well. But but for the most part, I'm pretty happy to be here for a lot of reasons. One of which is that you can walk out of pretty much any house in Edinburgh and have nothing but green around you. So there's plenty of space outdoors that we can share and things like that, which is nice. It was nicer in summer when it was warm, but it's still nice now.
Well, let me put it this way: the New Zealand Beer Collective, which you're working with right now, it's very, very, very popular here in London, and many people also in London knows you as well for all the collaborations, all the experience, all the beer-related jobs that you did, in these years. And while I would love to do a virtual taste cheers with you with this lovely beer.
Yeah, I was going to say I can't do it with the can because the can is Gucci now, but oh god, I know. Cheers. So
we're having a Kiwi beer, right?
Yeah. So this is from a brewery in Auckland. They're one of the few sort of actually urban breweries, as in ones that are located like in the city versus like on the outskirts. Yeah. So this is a brewery called Urbanaut.
Wow.
And this is Summerland, which is it's a salted lime sour, so kind of a goza, and it tastes like, even with the weather being as it is at the moment, it's just a really summery beer, a thirst quencher for sure.
Wow, I love it. It's just like, it's perfectly balanced. It's not, sometimes you have like these sour beers. Normally, if they're really citrusy and really salted, I like giving you like this big punch in the face, but this is just like, it's super sour. Maybe if it was the first sour that I ever had, I wouldn't say this, but definitely is super smashable. Because I'm really curious to understand what is how can we have such incredible fresh Kiwi beers over to the UK. I would love to ask you if you could introduce the New Zealand Beer Collective to all our audience, please.
Sure. So New Zealand Beer Collective was founded by Todd, who is the owner, founder, director of beer, as we refer to him. And we're a really small team. It's just at the moment, it's just myself and Todd, and then we have an amazing a little crew. Todd and myself both Kiwis, so that helps. But he founded it about 6 years ago. And the idea was to give Kiwi brewers, which are obviously quite small capacity craft breweries, so independent craft breweries and things, an opportunity to make it over here to the UK by sharing the sort of distribution side of things. So we bring over a shipment of beer from all of them instead of having to have enough to one brewery. So, that enabled sort of smaller breweries and to sort of come over, and for us to have more of a selection, I guess, to showcase and things. So, across the course of the last 6 years, we've had a range of breweries, some of which have worked really well and that we still work with, some of which have gone off to do their own distro, or, sadly, at least one that doesn't exist anymore and things like that. But, for the most part, we've done pretty well with picking some great breweries to bring across. So, Aidy have been with us since the start, much, and they're just phenomenal. If you've ever tried the 8-Wired Feijoa Sour, it is just one of, it's a beer that stands out in people's memories. It's one that we were used to once upon a time when we could do beer festivals. We would take, to beer festivals, and it was a standout. So we still work with them, and Urban are one that we've been working with a little more recently, so that we're drinking at the moment. But they're a really sort of innovative brewery who initially wanted to make kind of more core beer styles and stuff, and kind of have gone completely off kilter from that, because they do a series of beers called blenders, which are like 2 little cans on top of each other.
Yep.
And that you taste one, taste the other, and then mix them together, and it's kind of like fun way. Yeah, exactly. Yeah, it's a fun way to kind of play around with flavors and things. So they're a pretty innovative brewery. But yeah, we've got a real sort of cross section of them. And Todd, as I mentioned before, is a Kiwi, has been here in the UK for about 20 years or so, I think. And so this was also an opportunity for him to bring Kiwi beer over for his own consumption, I suspect. But it's great. He had some connections back there and things as well, and that's kind of helped. And it's funny because I obviously just joined the team fairly recently, but having a Kiwi accent definitely makes me sound super authentic. So
I love this.
Which is absolutely not true, but no, it's great. And it's fun for me to kind of reconnect with like my kind of the Kiwi roots, because I haven't lived in New Zealand. It's been about 20 years since I lived in New Zealand as well, in Scotland by way of Australia. And it's nice to have suddenly reconnect. And I've been told on multiple occasions that my accent is getting thicker and thicker and more Kiwi. I don't know if you recognise that since the last time we
I wanted to tell you that. I mean, I wasn't sure if it was the right thing to say, but then
right. I mean, I'm proud to be a Kiwi, so I'm happy to have my Kiwi accent coming back for sure. I've been here for 8 years in Scotland, and I'm never going to get a Scottish accent, so I might as well ham up the Kiwi one, right? So yeah.
Well, I'm telling you, I recently started to use a bit more my voice for creating some kind of digital material, which probably very soon is going to become something bigger. I'm not going to say too much. It's not the right place. And I heard about these, soft accent kind of, studies. And I understand softening accents. It could be a key to open more doors. The other way, I'm thinking not really.
Yeah.
Why should I hide?
Yeah, I think it's something they use a lot in film, isn't it? Because they that kind of like a generic American accent or generic British accent and things like that, because it makes it, I don't know, more palatable for people, just easier. But I think I think most of us are pretty proud of our roots and where we come from, and it's a conversation starter if nothing else, right?
Yep.
Even when I first moved here, and I definitely copped a lot of ridicule for my accent when I first arrived. What am I kidding? I still get mocked for my accent, but it's always done in good humor, and it's I can't tell you the number of times that I've met someone at a bar or a festival or someone's party or something like that, and you just gravitate towards each other because you recognise that accent. So whereabouts in New Zealand are you from? Or I'm pretty sure, in fact, that's how Todd from New Zealand Beer Collective and I we met through craft beer festivals here in the UK. contrary to popular belief, not everyone in New Zealand knows each other. So we met here in the UK, and that's exactly it. Like, it was just that kind of Kiwi connection. Like, straight away you can talk about like stuff that you have in common or things you remember. And, you know, if you softened your accent and maybe like tried to blend in a bit more, then maybe you wouldn't have that. And I like it. Yeah.
Well, when we put it this way, you know, I'm always thinking like, why in you know, in the beer community, we're all trying to, you know, find breweries that we never tried before, from places that we never experienced ourselves before. Why there is an interest for, you know, I would call it foreign breweries and beer scenes, even in countries like the UK, where there is such a strong and powerful beer scene. Why is that?
Yeah, it's an interesting one because the UK has a phenomenal craft beer scene. You know, they like, and it's come like absolute leaps and bounds in the last few years and things as well. So, yeah, it's, you don't need to look outside of the UK to get great beer. You can get everything you need here, absolutely. But I think people are curious, aren't they? Like, you know, always want, it's that grass is greener, they're wanting things you can't have, things like that, that all of us probably have a little bit of us, you know, in ourselves. And I think there's also an element of, you know, like a lot of these places that beer's coming from, you know, New Zealand in particular, really, because it's so far away, you know, it's 12,500 miles or something crazy like that. In the future, I mean, I'm gonna annoy people with that joke, because literally I say it all the time, because, you know, it is already tomorrow in New Zealand. So, you know,
I love it. This is brilliant.
I know, but like, seriously, when people hear me say it on every single one of these like calls that I do, they're gonna be like, all right, Aidy, you need some new material. And that's why I work in beer and I'm not a stand-up comic, because I don't have fresh material. But you know, it's really hard for people to get to those places, right? Like, it's incredibly expensive to travel to, you know, the other side of the world, plus the time that it takes to get there. I mean, my family now live in Western Australia, not in New Zealand any longer, but to get from Edinburgh to Perth is like, you know, but anywhere from sort of 24 to 36 hours of travel. So, you know, and then you've got that time difference that you have to like deal with from jet lag and all of those things. So you can't just go for like a long weekend. You have to go and commit to like going for a couple of weeks, so that your body, if nothing else, has time to like, you know, regulate, I guess. Yeah, so I'm just kind of like, it's, yeah, I guess people are keen to try things that maybe they wouldn't be able to get, you know.
I definitely want to.
Course, right? Yeah. So it's just exciting to try something new. I can see a question. This is actually from my best friend in the world, Pakini. And the question is like, do we work with any Māori-run breweries? So at the moment, the answer is no. There is one that we've been sort of courting, that we're looking at and stuff. Interestingly, there's not, you know, there's not a huge number of craft breweries, because New Zealand is a small country. And, you know, the beer scene in general, not just in New Zealand, but across the board, we've talked about this before when we've talked about inclusivity and representation and things in beer, is that there are not a huge amount of people of colour in the craft beer world. And it's, you know, which is changing, but still got a long way to go. So there's not a huge number that I'm aware of, and I don't want to act like I'm an expert on this, because by all means I'm not. Still learning about the New Zealand beer scene as well. But there is one that's that we're hopefully, you know, we're looking to sort of to see whether we can get over and things like that. But yeah, nothing yet. So.
Do you think, in a way, then, you know, all of the pandemic, which we unfortunately are witness of, and we have to exist during this incredible time, you know, almost like force the New Zealand beer collective to adapt in any way? And did you have to, like, you know, change the way that you're doing things? I'm really curious.
Definitely. You know, I guess talking purely from a brand perspective, you know, my sort of the marketing space and stuff that I work in, which is less of the kind of operational side. Now, I know I'm sure Todd would have loads to say on that side of things, but for me, even just from a marketing space, and there's a lot that's had to change. You know, we've had to be both reactive and proactive, which is a challenge, because that takes a lot of energy and time. In a perfect world, we can be proactive, or we can start looking at, marketing campaigns and sales campaigns and future projects. And we generally we're planning things for 6 months out and things like that in a perfect world, and even before a pandemic, it wasn't always a perfect world in terms of structure that way. But, you'd have things like, you knew that beer festival season was coming up, and you knew you could reach loads of people through amazing beer festivals like Indie Man and Leeds International and things like that, right? Like, Edinburgh Craft Beer Festival and all of these ones that you reach an amazing audience through doing these festivals, which obviously instantly all of that was gone. And then everything turns into a digital space. And I think I was saying to you before the call that, I've been working brand side, marketing side for breweries for several years now. But most of what I do is very events led and face to face. That's where I'm happiest. But it's also
that's how I met you.
Yeah, that's how we met. That's what and everything. And most of the people I know within the beer industry, that's how we met and everything. And it's and that's what makes this one of the things that makes this industry so great is that capacity to spend so much time together and socialize. And all of that was suddenly just like kind of just gone. Yeah, I do understand that there was some warning and things like that, obviously, but I think it really it steamrolled quite quickly from then on, and we all had to like quickly figure out how to adapt. So the major change for us is, a lot of what we were doing was definitely more trade side, and now we have our own web shop now and things like that, which is not something that we'd done before, but we wanted to make sure that we could get beer direct to consumer and not just direct to trade and stuff. And so, that's something that we had to turn around and learn how to do, and then learn how to promote that way as well. Because we talked a lot to trade rather than talking so much to the public, and we've had to change the way that we do that. Well, not change so much as add that in. So we're having multiple conversations and things.
Exactly.
And and unable to do things like in-person events and things like that is a challenge for small brands and things like that. So but thanks, Sean.
Thank you.
For events, definitely. But yeah, so obviously New Zealand Beer Month that you touched on before is a big one for us. This is our 3rd year running New Zealand Beer Collective. I say us, this is my 1st year working on it.
Fully digital, right? They're fully digital.
Fully digital. In terms of the event side of things, absolutely fully digital. We are working with what we call our New Zealand embassies, which we've got a whole list of them. You can find them on the Facebook page, which are venues and shops across the UK who are stocking the beer as well. So there is some opportunity to go and physically buy stuff, but there won't be events in venues and stuff anymore. So instead, we've turned things into kind of Zoom events and Facebook Lives and Instagram Lives and things like that, and that's been a steep learning curve.
You told me before,
right?
Yeah. Again, try to understand the best platforms, the best times, how to post things, how to make everything interconnected and suitable for every single part of our audience. Is
mind-boggling, right? Yeah. I saw someone tweet today, and I wish that I could credit them, because I'm not sure. I can't remember who it was that shared it, but about the fact that social media, like content development and social media management, should be 2 separate jobs, because just the content development on its own is a lot of work, and then you have someone who needs to respond to everything. Continuously, things like retweet and write back to people's comments and things like that. And those things for most breweries are not separate jobs. And in fact, those are probably only make up 2 parts of a much bigger job where you're also doing a bit of sales or a bit of this and this and this and this. And because we're small teams, craft breweries often really small teams, and stuff, and obviously have been hard hit in terms of revenue across the course of the last year. So they're not necessarily able to hire people to do that and things like that. So yeah, so that those are things that have definitely changed. But it's fun. I mean, who doesn't love to like learn new stuff about their own industry? I mean, it's
definitely
it's challenging, but it's rewarding. Yeah. So
may I show a beer which I told you at the beginning before the show that I was pretty curious to try.
I'm going to get one out of the fridge. So luckily, I have the fridge right next to my computer. So.
Victoria, I think that this beer, in to answering your question,
Aidy.
It's a good recommendation, right?
Yeah. Yes, totally. So this you might have seen. So we do almost everything that we do is we bring in beer from New Zealand, and then a separate sort of to our business is that we have a partnership with an awesome brewery in Scotland, so pretty convenient for me, in Aberdeen, called Fierce, who make amazing beer of their own. But we work with them on recipe development and concepts and everything like that, and we create these beers, and they're always the one thread that remains the same throughout all the beers we release with the Fierce NZBC project is that they highlight New Zealand ingredients. So the one prior to this was a beer called The Main Event, which did incredibly well, which looked the same but with a silver instead of the gold at the bottom. That was just Nelson Sauvin and Motueka hops. This is kind of the main event with the addition of Galaxy from Australia. So this is called Revelry and Rivalry, and it's basically a bit of a play on that sort of sibling rivalry between New Zealand and Australia. Because a lot of people think we hate each other, but for the most part, it's kind of banter rather than like we've got more in common than we don't, right?
For sure, yeah. We
launched this with them on Australia Day, which was last week. Oh God, I'm so bad at this camera thing. Don't quit your day job, Aidy. So that's our latest one, and it's a big hazy 8.5%. Nelson Sauvin, Motueka, and Galaxy from Australia.
I'm pretty sure it's available in London as well. Especially, I know there is a shop in Hackney Downs called All Good Beer.
Yes, All Good Beer. They are one of our New Zealand Beer Month embassies. So I believe they've got it. There are lots of like online independent retailers who have got it. So you can order it obviously directly from our shop as well. So yeah, it's lots, and the Fierce web shop too. So there's lots of places, but it's selling so quickly, which is awesome. But like also like I keep telling people about it, and then I'm like, hurry. Which is great. I mean, I'm not complaining. That's an amazing position to be in with a new beer.
Absolutely.
It's been really well received, which is awesome.
Well, again, I realize I spoke with different type of businesses, and pubs definitely have been the most impacted. And, bottle shops in a way found their own way through new customers' habits, drinking at home, and all of these different trends. With breweries or distributions, is a slightly different story, because you may wear focusing mostly on the on trade and then changing completely on the off trade, be successful, reach as many people you can. That's a real adaptation. So I heard that you did pretty well. You told me just before. I would love to know if you have any advices that you would love to give to different businesses, breweries, distributions.
I think it's a hard one, because part of me also Victoria is going to sound great. I think it's a hard one, because there's a real temptation to rush decisions, to rush whether that's a post that you put out into the world, or quickly setting up online shops, or working with new partners and things like that. But I always think it's quite important to take a bit of a step back and take a breath and assess it properly, because we're all a bit panicked, not just within this industry, within loads of industries, but also just within our own lives at the moment, because there's so many unknowns, and we're constantly having things thrown at us and having to kind of duck and weave so it is important to kind of, if you can, just give yourself a minute to look at it and try and think of what the plan is, rather than just being solely reactive. It's finding that balance between both being sort of, organised and planned and proactive, as well as, reacting to things. And that's, I mean, fuck, I know that is easier said than done. Sorry, I curse a lot and I've already had a beer. So, so that's a really difficult balance. I think I would say that, we know that the digital space obviously is incredibly important. Not everybody has budget to obviously have someone who does that as a full-time job. But there are a lot of amazing freelance, digital people out there, marketers and things like that, who can give advice, even if you can spare a little bit to do that. In fact, there's lots of, and I don't want to take away any work from freelancers, but there are also lots of amazing people who are furloughed at the moment, who are offering advice online, just to support the industry and things. So it's, tap into as many of those networks as possible and ask questions, because I think one thing that has been, at least to myself, has been abundantly clear is the willingness of so many of us to support each other in this industry. And obviously, again, I say not just this industry, but, from my experience, the craft beer community has always been a pretty great one from my experience. And, one of the reasons why I'm still, working in it when I could probably have an easier or job sometimes, But, even now when we're faced with so many challenges, people are still looking outside of their own role and things like that, and seeing how they can support each other. So, we had a great call last night with a friend of New Zealand Beer Collective, Stu from Yeasty Boys, who we're doing our official New Zealand Beer Month launch event with tomorrow. Todd, who's our founder, and Stu from Yeasty Boys have been friends from when they were teenagers in Wellington and stuff. So expect some hilarious stories, especially once we get to like year 3, 4, 5, 6, etc. But
I'm sure, yeah.
But we had a call yesterday, kind of just catching up about a few things that we're working on together for New Zealand Beer Month. And, a lot of the call was also like sharing, how they do things and how we do things and stuff like that. And it wasn't about competition. It wasn't about looking at each other and being like, well, I don't want to share any knowledge with you because you'll take my customers away, or vice versa. It was very much, it's like, we're hoping that we'll all make it through this, right? The business is still succeeding. So that kind of shared knowledge, there's a lot of people out there willing to do that. So I think that's probably look for people who are willing to support and share, but also be that person for other people.
You couldn't say anything, more appropriate than this, because, as we said, this industry is made by people, and the people right now, many people right now need to have, to feel that the industry is there for them, especially if they gave so much back. They gave so much back in the days. So it's a real time where you can really make the difference. Just saying, hey guys, if there is anyone out there that can give us a hand, could be even like packaging, for one day.
100%. I mean, that was, I did the same thing when I was furloughed from the job I had prior to working with New Zealand Beer Collective. I did, I did the same thing. I had some time on my hands, and I went and volunteered for my friends who work for Pilot Brewery here in Edinburgh. They're like just around the corner from where I live, and and that's all I did. Is I went in and I boxed up customer orders. But for me, it was a sanity project, because it got me out of the house one day a week. I got to go in and chat to some people, socially distanced, obviously, and this was in the first lockdown as well, and everything. And and I think that those doing stuff like that, if you can do it, great. And it doesn't have to be within this industry. There are a lot of struggling businesses and charities and things, to support. But I think, there was somebody said, again, I'm terrible at being able to sort of attribute these quotes to people, and I probably bastardize this quote horribly. But someone was saying, when you're having a difficult time, like look for the helpers, like what are they doing, and then do that, because I think you realize sometimes when you're having a hard time, and I'm very aware that this is not always achievable for everyone, depending on their challenges, but if you're helping other people, it's actually so rewarding for yourself and helps you cope with a lot of things as well, to feel like you're contributing to things in a bigger sphere. And I know that you've been doing that with your projects about pubs in London and everything as well, and that's doesn't necessarily directly impact you, but it's impacting the industry that you love. You know, we're doing part of New Zealand Beer Month, we're doing what we call the Big Kiwi Meat Raffle. It's a very antipodean thing to do, is to do like at the pub, the like sporting groups or community groups and stuff like that would literally come into a pub with a tray of meat and sell raffle tickets, and then like someone at the pub would win this like massive tray of like sausages and things to take home and like cook later that day and stuff like that. And it's just like it's something that I remember. So we've teamed up with some amazing sort of Kiwi, UK based but Kiwi affiliated businesses, Alliance or Pure South, who bring in gourmet lamb. So they're giving us an amazing like gourmet lamb hamper, which is worth about 120 pounds or something crazy. Working with All Press Coffee, which was founded in New Zealand. They're doing like a 6-month coffee subscription delivered to your door. Working with Crosstown.
Wow.
So Crosstown Donuts are London-based, obviously, but founded by Kiwis. So they're going to give a working from home pack. Yeasty Boys are sending beer. We're obviously contributing, and the guys at Sansa, who are the online South African, New Zealand, Australian like shop, one-stop shop, they've also offered to contribute. So, and all of the proceeds from that are being donated to the Trussell Trust, because I think we know that we're all struggling, but there are people who are having it even worse. You know, people who were already in a really difficult position prior to a global pandemic. You know, so we wanted to sort of, if we're going to be shouting about New Zealand beer, and we're going to let's use that as an opportunity to also give back to people. So that's 100% of the process. It's not, every penny that we collect will go straight to the Trussell Trust. So, things like that like really make a difference, and it makes everything a little bit more enjoyable and kind of,
Again, I don't want to be part of a drinking community which doesn't going to have good beer, good pubs, and good people still part of it.
Yes.
I dream to go in a place with you. Maybe, hopefully, we're gonna do the third country.
You just saw the comment that just popped up on screen before was Mr. Chris Moore. There we go. So Chris and I joined Brooklyn Brewery on the same day. We met for the first time in Brooklyn, in New York, both having no idea. We didn't know anybody else, and that's the very first time we met. And even years later, he's still one of my best mates. And you, obviously, the three of us have been out on the booze together on several occasions. So,
well, it's time to go to Wales or Northern Ireland or wherever you want to go. Let's put a flag on the map.
Yeah, and this is like, I also like long for the day that we can all meet up again, like in person and stuff. And I love, I think there's a lot of huge, more challenges than not, obviously, for the last year. But there's a lot of amazing stuff that's also come out of this, and I hope that that's something that kind of that looking outward, and being so supportive of each other, is something that we all carry into the next phase of whatever happens and stuff like that, and that we don't take each other for granted and things like that, whether that's in a workspace or a personal space, because it's been definitely a bit of I personally, who's someone who's very social at the pub most of the time and things like that, who had a huge part of that sort of was just gone, realizing that I was getting to know people better, weirdly, when I wasn't seeing them, because we talked about more stuff that mattered rather than just those kind of superficial pub conversations. Now, don't get me wrong, I fucking miss those superficial pub conversations. Not detracting from that, but there was something great about that, of like taking time to solidify those relationships with people instead of it just being like a occasional weekly pint together and things. And so that's nice, and I want to keep that while also talking absolute nonsense at the pub. I want both of those things. Yeah.
Oh, definitely. No, look again. I could easily turn to
so much. I'm going to cry just like nonstop for weeks, probably when the pubs reopen, and it'll all be happy tears. I'm going to cry every time I see someone. I'm going to cry. Oh my God! The first time I see a dog at the pub, I will literally dissolve Yeah, I will. I'll be on the floor in tears. You know, things like that I yes. And you know it's true as well. Like anyone who's met me knows that that's not an exaggeration at all. It literally will be me in tears on the floor, kissing a dog.
Yeah. Look. I'm spending 24 hours of my day. Even when I sleep, I probably dream about being a pub or how is the pub is going to look like. If I'm going to be able to meet the bartender at the bar, asking them, "Do you mind to pour me this beer?" and instead of maybe using an app, because that could be an possibility, and it's a very, very scary one. But you know, hey, again, we're gonna meet all of these people in here that are commenting today, and you know.
Yeah, and I think we just have to be patient, which is really like way easier said than done, obviously, because we've all been waiting for a really long time already. I think a lot of us almost forget what it feels like to do a lot of the things that we used to do, and we're kind of getting used to this new norm. And I don't want to get used to it. I want to become comfortable in this space because, I realized the other day I was like, I'm not really sure how to talk to people anymore. Like, what happens when we first see each other? I feel like it's just going to be months of that awkward thing where one of you goes for a hug, one of you goes for a handshake, someone goes in for the kiss, and then it's just going to be a mess, but it's going to be a wonderful mess, But like that thing about like forgetting how to actually interact in person, like we high five. What do we do now? Like I don't know. I feel like we'll reconvene and we'll make a group consensus that we're all going to do it one way so that we can minimize that awkwardness. But and I'm awkward at the best of times. So.
Aidy, did it ever happen to you to dream people in your dreams and they are all wearing a mask?
Oh no!
That is the
no. Are you dreaming of people in masks? Oh no. No.
I'm dreaming people with masks, and I get surprised every single time I'm watching, films or TV series where people don't wear it at all and meeting and going places.
Yeah, I mean, it's definitely going to cost me way more when I have to start wearing makeup on a regular basis again. Last time you saw me, I definitely wouldn't have had curly hair. No. Now I'm starting to live a very lockdown life of like barely ever putting makeup on. I mean, I like legit wearing fluffy socks and pajama pants right now. If you can't see me from here down, but like I am absolutely in pajama pants and fluffy socks. What am I going to do when I have to stop doing that? Like I have a little corner shop that's like literally just downstairs from my flat, like 2 doors down. I go and see them like every couple of days in my pajamas. And then I just put like a coat and my mask on. I was like, I will, yeah. I'm gonna have to start like acting like a normal person again.
Yeah. Be ready for it. And in the meantime, I want to know if you do have any upcoming events, even if they're gonna be just online. I know you do because it's the right month.
Yeah. So New Zealand Beer Month. Basically a month to celebrate all the amazing beers and hops and ingredients that come out of New Zealand. The world is obviously really looking at New Zealand in particular at the moment because of the success that they've had in terms of their management of this situation. Yeah. I don't want to go too much into that obviously, but we're pretty fucking proud of the place that we come from and stuff. So. And we always were, but like right now, it's very relevant, I suppose. But this is the 3rd year of running New Zealand Beer Month. It has had to obviously take a completely different direction in terms of it now being all online. So tomorrow we have a free event to join, which is a Zoom call with Todd, founder of New Zealand Beer Collective, and Stu from Yeasty Boys, where we're going to drink through. We've got 6 beers that we're going to drink through, but you can join the call. I think one of the things that we've done is that you can join in with any of these events pretty much, even if you haven't bought beer. So if you just want to like jump on the call and see what's happening and learn a little bit about the people involved in these beers and the beers themselves, you don't have to. But you can also just pop into your local like New Zealand beer embassy, which you can find on our Facebook page, and buy whatever they have in stock and enjoy that while you.
That's lovely.
Yeah, so you can find all of that. If you head to our Facebook page, you'll find all of the events. But we've got, we're doing. I've got 2 that I've just added today. We're going to do a Meet the Brewer with Bruce from Urbanaut, so the beer that we've been drinking. We're going to do a blender tasting. So those beers I was talking about, where there's the 2 little cans that sit on top that you mix together. We'll do an event where we'll taste 3 of those, and he'll talk to us about how they develop the flavors and things to combine those beers and how that all works. And so it's interesting and we're doing another Meet the Brewer with Soren, who's the owner and head brewer of 8 Wired as well. That when they tune in, it'll be like 8 o'clock in the morning or 8:30 in the morning their time, and it'll be
wow, yeah, you're right.
So it's actually quite cool actually, because obviously we can't bring them over every year to do these things because it's a huge amount of time and expense for them as well. So in some ways, this digital thing has kind of made it almost more achievable for us to get brewers involved. It's difficult because of the time, obviously, that they have to. Like, I mean, brewers are up early anyway, right? Like brewing, we all know that's something it's an early morning job a lot of the time anyway. But I suspect that they'll be cracking a beer with us. So, maybe they won't consume quite as much as us on this side of the world, but they will have a beer. So there's one with Soren as well, from 8 Wired. I'm trying to think. We have got obviously the big Kiwi meat raffle. We've got a cool one if you're, even if you're not artistic and you're just interested in doing something a bit different. There's a really cool company called Paintvine UK, and we've worked with them in previous years, but in a physical capacity.
Yeah, sure.
But they're sending out these amazing acrylic paint sets, and they'll do a kind of a guided learn how to paint, and it's going to be a New Zealand landscape. So, and you can either buy just the pack and join in without drinking, which is totally fine, or drink wine if you want to, whatever your cup of tea is, a cup of tea. Or you can absolutely have a cup of tea, or you can buy the pack and 6 Kiwi beers to do that as well. So we've got lots of bits and pieces. And if you like comedy, then it's Waitangi Day this coming Saturday, which can be a little controversial for reasons up, but for a lot of people overseas, a lot of Kiwis overseas, it's really important as a way of kind of reconnecting with New Zealand. So there is a really cool pop-up comedy event that's happening, so you can watch some like Kiwi comics and stuff as well, doing that with a quiz involved, and we've provided a prize of win your height and beer.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. So there's there's heaps of stuff. Like, I mean, I've rattled those off, so that was a bit boring. Sorry for everyone. But
no. We want to know what's happening.
If you head to our Facebook page, I saw that some of you are tuning in from our Facebook page as well.
Yeah.
You can see all the different events, and on the New Zealand Beer Month event, that one will list all of the different participating venues as well, that you can either physically go into or order online from. So we obviously have our own web shop, but it's more important for us to support all of the venues that we've worked with for a long time. So please feel free to get into places like All the Beer, or you can order from Free Trade Inn in Newcastle, Grunting Growler in Glasgow. You can get into Fierce Bar in Aberdeen. Like, we've got places sort of scattered all over the place.
All over the place.
Yeah. So check it out and see if you can get into to see. So I see the question about Garage Project. Garage Project, unfortunately, we don't work with Garage Project. They aren't really focusing on the UK, so we haven't got any of their beer. But we'll never say never, obviously.
Who knows?
Who knows exactly, but not at the moment. We won't see any Garage Project on our site. But trust me, there's plenty already on there, and we literally just had a fresh shipment. I say fresh. The last shipment only arrived 2 weeks ago. This shipment arrived today. So there's we're not talking the last
fresh than in Manchester, probably.
Yeah. And one that just landed today. So I expect to see some brand new beers popping up in shops and on our site and things like that over the course of the next few days as well. So
Aidy, you're busy. I'm telling you, you are. You really are. You guys.
It stops me from being bored if I keep busy, right? Otherwise, what else do we do? More
you're
watching
right.
TV. Remember when binge watching TV was like really enjoyable, and now it's just boring? You're like, oh, cool. Another night on the sofa.
Look, I shouldn't say, but I was pretty excited when I realized that on Netflix you now can find all the Dawson's Creek seasons. So I'm like, I mean, it's not really my cup of tea, but hey, you know, just in case.
You need that stuff. You need to have some mindless like stuff as well, right? Like you can't. I mean, I'm obsessed with all things sort of true crime and dark, like Scandi noir site, you know, like shows and things like that. Like, but every so often you have to watch something that is like just pure trash, and it's wonderful. I mean,
I'm on X-Files right now, and I really need to balance. And it's starting from the first season, first episodes, and you know, drinking beer, just stay there with the jewel like this.
I love it. One of the things that we didn't actually like get it up and running, but we'll probably look at doing it later in the year anyway. Was to do some like Flight of the Conchords pairings, like to try and choose beers that we thought reflected like certain episodes and things. And I highly recommend, like, if you don't want to necessarily tune into the events that we're hosting, or you want to do other things to celebrate New Zealand throughout the course of the month that aren't scheduled by us, check out some of the really cool films and stuff. Like there's one in particular that I am obsessed with. It's called Eagle versus Shark, and it is so quintessentially Kiwi in that it's just got this really quirky sense of humour. It's really, really funny.
Is it from the 90s or 2000? Do you remember?
I think it must be 2000s. There's no way it's more than like. Can you believe 2000 was like 21 years ago? So it's got to be the 2000s because it's
yeah, like Blink 182 probably is kind of dated. You know, people don't listen to that stuff anymore. It's like ABBA.
The film is also set in like rural New Zealand, so therefore it could be the 80s, but it's probably the like 2000s, just because some of those parts, like those of us from New Zealand, there are parts of New Zealand that have not caught up with like fashion and like and stuff like that, which is what makes it also awesome. Like part of what makes it unique and amazing. But yeah, films like that, like I can see Chris loves that film. It's like that Kiwi sense of humour. If you're a fan of things like the Flight of the Conchords and stuff like that, you know, you enjoy that Kiwi sense of humour, then definitely check stuff like that out. And it's a nice little moment of comic relief in, you know, and we can all do with that, right?
I don't even think that you are just, you know, jumped into this new adventure randomly. You are quintessentially the best person that can represent the culture and these beers. I try something which is truly awesome. So
I'm
really awesome.
It's funny because I wouldn't really generally consider myself someone who gravitates to a lot of sours, but this is one that I've been drinking like way more than like, you know, and I think it is like, super refreshing. I recommend that everyone just like turns their like central heating right up, puts on like a tropical shirt, grabs a can of like Summerland, and just like get your holiday on, even though you're stuck in your own flat, because you know, and it's quite good. Like get on a Zoom call and put a virtual background on that makes you feel like you're somewhere tropical. And enjoy it. Like turn all the lights up, put your sunglasses on. Like, you know, we have to kind of use our creativity and our imagination to like get through this, and you know, and laugh as much as possible.
We need a bit of that in London. So I recommend everyone to check it out, All Good Beer or any other shop you want to support. And everything is going to be on the New Zealand Beer Collective page. I always promised I wouldn't go too far over the 50 minutes. And we are chatting by 54 minutes in a way, which is the magic.
Wow, we did this last time. I'm so sorry.
You shouldn't be. No.
At the start, you were like, I talk a lot about yourself, and you were saying people can tell you to shut up, and I was laughing because I was like, you think you talk a lot? Jesus Christ.
No, it's so good. I know there is a thing as well in these platforms, which is YouTube is not going to make you save the video, so then we can put it everywhere else if it's over a certain time. To keep it safe. Thank you very much, Aidy, to be here. with me. We're gonna probably keep chatting after we're closing, but the people that can't know that, right? So thank you very much, Aidy. And I also look at that. Yeah.
Yeah, good point.
Still, yeah, you're right, Chandru. But hey, you know.
True.
Thank you very much again. I may say that I'm gonna see you very soon on one of these platforms,
Yes.
here or another, and because it's always a pleasure to speak with you. And thanks everyone to watch us.
Thank you so much. To keep up the good work. You're doing amazing stuff.
Bye.
Bye.